What's going on, cowboy? In this video, we've got a new NFT project, new crypto project on our hands here, and we need to figure out whether or not this is going to be, a quick pump and dump, something to be in for a long term, something that we're interested in. It's called the BowerBird Collective, and we've got the brains behind it. His name is Greg, and we're going to be grilling him with questions, figuring out, hey, is this a project worth our time and money, or should we move on? Is he a scammer, or what's going on here? And we need to feel that fire in our belly. Look, if you're new to this channel, my name is Aaron. I'm on a journey to my next Bitcoin while helping you to your next Bitcoin. I have a lizard brain, gorilla arms, and diamond hands, and I'm exploring the wild west of cryptocurrency with a whole bunch of other cowboys. If you want to roll with us, hit the subscribe button down below. Join us in the saloon. Join us online. Okay, let's get right into it. Look, when we're doing research for these different, and crypto projects are popping up all the time, we go to YouTube, right? That's what we're doing. We're doing it right now. But I think the best way to do our research is to just ask the developer, face to face, or the artist or the founder, right? Face to face, eye to eye, belly to belly, because we can't even go through the website. That's slow, or a third party YouTuber. They don't care. They just want to get paid, or a website, or whatever, or even a community manager. Those are kind of slow. So I think it's best to get it straight from the mind of the person who's trying to make this project run. And so on our hands today, we are talking about BowerBird Collective and the man, the myth, the legend himself, Greg. Greg, welcome to the hot seat.
Hey, Aaron. It's great to be here. Thanks so much for inviting me onto your channel there. And I love the name of your channel.
Awesome, man.
Cowboys of Crypto. It's like, how many times do we hear that, it's the Wild West out there, there's no regulation in this space. So, yeah, it's a great name, and it's certainly fitting for the times that we're in because cryptos and NFTs are something that, the world are really just sort of waking up to in 2021. So it's great to be here.
Thank you for being here. Absolutely. With the Cowboys, we are like people who want to get in projects early, good projects, good teams, and we're just willing to take big risks for big rewards. And we want to know about you. Are you someone that we could take a nice risk with for a nice reward? So Greg, before we even get into BowerBird, tell me about you. Who are you coming into crypto? Like, what's your background here professionally? And then we'll talk about BowerBird.
Okay, well, that's a really good place to start, Aaron. I've been in the art game for 40 years now. I just had my 60th birthday there, a couple of days ago. Still got some hair on my head. Wearing my hat for you today. But no, I've spent the last 40 years since the early 1980s working firstly as a commercial artist. So I was professionally trained and spent my first 20 to 25 years working as an airbrush artist. So, dealing with the advertising industry, creating things that today, can be done on computers quite easily. But back then, it required the skills of somebody with, careful attention to detail and dedication to create these amazing things that were really not able to be created in any other fashion. Through the course of time since that point, I've been in and out of the fine art space as a portrait painter, a landscape artist, and an abstract painter. So I've got quite a spread of skills, and, sometimes people say, what do you really want to do? It's like, well, I'm kind of like a kid in a candy store when it comes to art and all things being creative. I'm also an inventor and an entrepreneur, and I have a very philanthropic approach to my life overall. In the last, since my son was born, my youngest son, 26 years ago, I was finally convinced to take a look at these computers. Now, as I said, I've come from a traditional art background, and it's like in the early days, late 80s, early 90s, computers and art didn't really mix all that well. The programs were very unsophisticated, but it wasn't until about the mid-90s that I started to notice one particular illustrator here in Australia who had a really good reputation. We were sort of up there vying for the top illustration spots in Australia at the time. And when he got a computer and started producing some illustration work, I was like, hey, wait a minute. I think I better take a closer look at this. So that was my introduction. And of course, I really didn't know anyone else using a computer, and it took me a long time to figure out how to use it. And I spent 6 solid months finishing my day job with the airbrush. I'd have people come to the studio and they'd say, well, what do you got a computer for? I said, do you want me to use that for your illustration? And they're going, no, get back to the drawing board. So I had to spend my nights for about 6 months from sort of 8 o'clock at night after putting my 4 kids well, actually 3 kids at the time to bed. And from there till about either 1 to 3 in the morning, just grinding in to try and figure out how this thing works. So I'm a techno guy at heart as well. So, there's quite a mixture, quite an eclectic arrangement that goes on inside my head. So when the whole idea of, cryptos came along, once again, it was actually my son, who is now 26. He was pestering me there last year saying, Dad, you've got to look into these cryptos. In fact, you've got to look at this token, this coin. It's just going to go 10x. It's like, yeah, you know what? That's your generation. Good luck to you. I don't have time for it. Anyway, fast forward a little. Earlier this year, he comes back and says, hey, did you take my tip? I was like, what? He said, well, that coin, it's now gone, I think it was 100x or something. I'm going, what? Ooh, better take a look at this. So that started my journey into the crypto space. Now, I'd been hearing about NFTs, but I didn't really know what they were. And then suddenly a guy by the name of Beeple turns up on my news feed. Beeple sells, artwork, montage through the auction space, getting $69 million. I'm thinking, what? A piece of artwork that I've been doing once a day for, the past number of years. And so that really got my attention. And then I decided to find out, okay, I can spell NFT, NFT. Now, what does the F stand for? I'm thinking, maybe it means fakeable. It's like, okay. Found out it's fungible. It had all to do with, the blockchain and having something being immutable, if you've heard that expression. So that's been my introduction, through the whole art career. And, that leads us obviously into, why are you doing this, Greg? So I imagine you're probably wondering about my artwork and exactly, where the idea came from.
Yeah. So let me just recap here. You're a bit of a Renaissance man. You started off as a artist at heart first, just the traditional stuff, and then you started seeing and exploring into computers. And then your son came along and told you about a coin that 100x. And so then you started diving into crypto and NFTs. And so it's just a natural progression of your artistic journey here. So or expression thereof. So tell me, what is BowerBird Collective, and what are you trying to accomplish here? What's your inspiration behind it?
Okay. Yeah, great place to start. What is the BowerBird Collective? Well, I guess the best way to understand where this concept came from is, my first observation of NFTs, especially in the Avatar series approach, was that, okay, so we're creating a lot of artwork here and a lot of people are buying it and, seeing that as a great, opportunity for them, financially. So I started to think about, how could I contribute to this space? How could I do something that was, a value add overall to the space itself, and making sure that, it wasn't just a quick, pump and dump, a short-term expression of enthusiasm and then, watching the floor price fall away, which, after sort of being involved in a few NFT purchases and, failed attempts to mint things, it's like, okay, if I'm going to do anything here, I want to make sure that it's something that, is there for the long term. And it's like, well, the next question is, well, why would you be doing this? So yeah, as an artist, I'm, I guess bound by my own artistic integrity to be creating something that, first of all, I'm passionate about. And if you're artistic yourself, or anyone, watching this, you'll understand the dilemma that the artist has. Through the process of creation, there's a lot of excitement and there's passion involved. And then what we end up happening quite often is you get to the end of the work, and it may take, days, weeks, sometimes even months. You're so sick of looking at it that, the jubilation at first, wears off very quickly. And then you've got this thing that's left behind, like, oh, why did I even do that? I don't like that. I want to kind of never see that again. So that happened a lot with my commercial art career. It's like spending so much time on something just because someone was paying me was a real drain on my artistic integrity. So I was determined that, reaching towards my golden years, so to speak, as a retiring artist, I thought whatever I do in this space, it has to be something that reflects that integrity, that I'll love it, before I start with the concept. I love creating the process, the end result, 5 days, 5 months, 5 years later, I've still got to dig that thing. So that's where I started from. So there's a broad concept that I had to work with. So looking into, why the BowerBird Collective? Well, firstly, the idea of being an NFT collector is one that really lies at the core of people's interest in the whole NFT space. Like, I want to be able to purchase something that's going to go up in value, but I've still got to determine, what am I looking at right here? Is this it? Like, I had one of my guys that I was listening to at the time, in the early days, and he said, "Oh, I stumbled upon this thing called Bored Apes," and he wasn't all that early to it, and he was talking about $1,000 or $2. I'm thinking, geez, I don't sort of have that sort of money, and what's a Bored Ape? Now, if you've been in this space for longer than perhaps 5 minutes, you'll know that was probably a really silly response to his suggestion. I think he even purchased multiples and is doing quite well out of it today. Wow. But the point I'm trying to make is it's quite a dilemma to decide, or have an education behind what you're looking at. There may be a whole lot of FOMO and fear of missing out. It's like, oh, everybody's on this, I've got to get it. But I've seen time and time again projects like that just, fade away. And it's like they've lost their mint price, the floor has fallen. So right in the heart of the concept of this art lies our protagonist, the art collector, the NFT art collector. And I've given him a name. You can see in the background there that I'll just point there. This is an actual life-size painting, which I'll explain a little later on in the video. But right in the center, you'll see that there's a man, and he looks like he's in a bit of a hurry. He's got things in his hands he's collecting, and he's wearing a mask. So all these elements in the actual painting itself represent different parts, firstly, of my art career as an illustrator, as an abstract artist, as a lover of fine art and particular artists. If you're familiar with Van Gogh, you'll see that our protagonist in the middle, he has a name. His name is Neo. He's actually holding some flowers that represent Vincent van Gogh's sunflowers and irises. And you'll notice too that he has a beard, which is also connected to Vincent van Gogh. So there are elements there, and there's some elements that you can't quite see that are off the screen. But the idea behind the BowerBird Collective was that, firstly, this is a mission that we're all on, trying to discover the next Bored Ape or CryptoPunk, whatever it might be, whatever in 6 months, or a year's time, everyone's going to look back and say, oh, boy, that I heard about that, but I didn't buy one. Sort of kind of an idiot. It's sort of like the moment I had when I found out just, what is Bitcoin worth? When my son was pestering me like, Dad, you got to get into this thing. I remember I was around in 2008 when, Bitcoin first came about, and I was, being a techno guy, I was fully aware of it. I went looking for someone to do a website for, because I was building websites at the time. And I'm saying, hey, a little bit like my experience when, like, hey, I've got this computer over here. Do you want me to do the illustration on there? And then I do it on the drawing board. It was like, hey, I'll build you a website for Bitcoin. $1,000 worth of Bitcoin in 2008 would have bought me about 4,000 coins. And if you know what Bitcoin's worth today, heck yeah, man, that's quite a lot of dough. So, whoops, missed another one. But I guess the point is, it requires diamond hands. And as one friend rightfully pointed out, very smartly, he said, oh, yes, but Greg, you wouldn't have held that long, would you? And it's like, yeah, you're probably right. I wouldn't have. I would have cashed that out, long before it hit that mark. But I guess the point that I'm trying to make with my artwork and with the BowerBird Collective is that right at the heart of this thing, lies quite a difficult challenge, So our protagonist, he's got action and movement. He's moving forward through this perhaps confusing landscape, which you'll see in my background. It's like, what do I do? What do I collect? Now, BowerBird. Why the BowerBird and why a collective? I was lying in bed one morning trying to think, with all these ideas rushing through my mind. I want to represent these different artists and art periods, and I want to, I want this to be an avatar. But it's like, what are we going to call this thing? It has to have a name. And the thought occurred to me, people are doing a lot of, different jungle sorts of creatures. And I thought, well, what's the one creature that I know that actually collects things? And being an Aussie, we have a bird down here called the BowerBird. And they're famous for collecting, little blue bottle tops and anything of color that they can take back to their nest to set up as a display, which they put on to attract the female. And they have a vertical nest. It's like twigs all built with a little passageway in the middle. And that's where the female bowerbird comes and stands and looks. A lot of us collect, collectibles to impress our friends, to impress the mates. So there was something very similar there in that notion. And the fact that when I looked it up online and saw a David Attenborough video, it blew my mind of just the performance that this little bird puts on to attract a mate. So it just seemed like the perfect marriage there with the name. And the idea of the collective, comes behind, an artist collective where artists are all contributing and, everyone involved in the group is benefiting. So that's the sort of the basis of where the BowerBird Collective started from.
Gotcha. So just to maybe recap, I mean, someone could take in all the details, but the sweeping broad strokes here is that it's kind of a little bit of a representation of, at least that piece right behind you is a representation of a little bit of your journey. The protagonist is Neo, and you take a lot of Van Gogh elements and you push it in there. And the reason for BowerBird Collective is that you looked at, there's this like bird and it collects things and it shows it off to attract, a female mate. And that's why we have the name BowerBird Collective while implementing these different elements from your journey. Is that about right?
Yeah, that's spot on.
Yeah, good deal. So tell me, you use the word protagonist. Can you explain to me as someone who's not like really like, I've got a lizard brain, you know what I'm saying?
On that word, yeah,
yeah. So like, I know that's like the main story of the main character of a story, right? That's that. But yeah. Why do you use the word protagonist? Do you have a story that's linking all this up together? Like, what's going on there?
Yes, we do. So in order to develop our character Neo, I had to sit down and build a psychological picture. And, I since found out after that, it's common within sort of the gaming space and with Discords to have a lore there that, people are interested in. So I wrote out the entire journey of this guy, and he's kind of like me, traveling through these different art landscapes and negotiating all the ups and downs and the pitfalls, and trying to avoid the black swan event. Like you don't want to meet that terrifying creature, as we all hear about. Well, could go to zero, black swan event. So there's a story there, and you'll find that on our Discord, under the lore. But protagonist, yeah, it's interesting. He's not like a hero, right? Because a hero sort of represents kind of like a Hollywood ending story. Mm-hmm. But a protagonist is how I think we feel and relate to, in just sort of day-to-day lives that we live when we're faced with challenges of thinking, well, I've got to make decisions here. So the whole thing about like, do I or don't I, invest in this particular NFT, mm-hmm. Really sort of made me frame my character as somebody on a journey, making his way through, the ups and downs. So it kind of sounds a little bit scary, but it's not, because I did notice that a lot of people were doing these anonymous projects, and I thought, well, why would you sort of hide behind anonymity? Of course, the reason came back, well, people don't want to have their ETH stolen, etc. And then a lot of reaction in the community came back and started to say, hey, no, wait a minute now. This could be just, people doing a rug pull, because we see a lot of these projects, they blossom and then they fade away. And then suddenly, maybe the same team is doing another one. So I was determined to make sure that, if I did anything in this space, that we'd let everybody know who we were. Yeah. And the other thing is, we're a family team. I have 2 sons and 2 daughters. Both of my boys are members of the team. There is a whole, history of professional web development, application development, social media marketing, and of course the artwork. And we have great advisors when it comes to, the tokenomics and how the crypto element is involved with the blockchain. So we've got a really good team set up there, but we're all saying who we are. Like, if we mess this up, it won't be because we were determined to mess it up. It'll be because, I don't know, lots of things can happen, in the NFT space. So, there's no guarantees out there. How many times do we watch these videos where it's like, I'm not a financial advisor and this is not financial advice. Yep. We're not making any offers of, hey, come and buy our NFT and, we guarantee you're going to make income and things like that. So, yeah, at the heart, we've got our protagonist. And these are the things, that everyone has to work out for themselves. Like, one thing that's really, really interesting, when people come into our Discord, the first thing they say is, wow, man, this art is dope. This is awesome. This is so unique. I've never seen anything like it. And that was exactly the reaction that I wanted from people. I didn't want them to come in and say, oh, yeah, this looks like something I bought yesterday, or something I'm thinking about buying next week. This actually stands out. And somebody chimed in there early in the piece, and they said, boy, this is the sort of art that rich people buy and put on their walls in their homes. I was blown away by that. I mean, I've sold a few pieces of art, and I never really sort of looked at it from that perspective, because, it is the rich people that usually can afford these things. So that's another wonderful thing about NFTs. A lot of people saying, hey, look, man, I don't really care what happens with this thing. I know if I buy one of these, I'm going to be so proud to have this, and I'm never going to sell it regardless of what happens. Yeah. So to me, that was just absolutely beautiful to hear that sort of response. So loving the fact that people love the art. And there's probably one other thing I'd like to speak about in, like, why are you doing this, Greg? I mean, a lot of people say, oh, you're just trying to make some money, and, you're just going to spend all the money on yourself. The thing that drives me, Aaron, is not, a yellow Lamborghini. I mean, somebody said this to me once early in the piece when we were talking to a developer. He said, oh, you won't be buying a Lambo if you do this. And I said, sorry, I'm not interested in a Lambo. I have a deep passion for my life. Let's say it's 2/3 over. I just attended my uncle's funeral there a few weeks back and gave a eulogy, and it really struck me. He died 26 years almost to the day from my son being born. And I'm thinking, boy, I look at my son Keenan, and I think, heck, this could be me. What's my life going to add up to in the end? So having a passion for, looking at the end of my life and looking back, what did I do that actually moved the needle and helped people? So the thing that drives me above all of this, inside of, what sort of money can be made from the NFT space is a passion that's driven by a thing called microfinance. Now, are you familiar with the concept of microfinance?
No, I'm not. I'm barely familiar with finance itself. So help me out with microfinance.
Sure. Okay, well, microfinance was developed probably about 45 years ago, and the idea was that people in developing countries don't really require that much money to start a business. Today it's roughly about $150 that if somebody in the underprivileged developing nations around the world, and there are billions of people in this position, were given the opportunity to start a business on their own, they could actually feed their family for life instead of taking a typical sort of handout from a charity and perhaps just feeding them for a day. So when I first heard about this concept, because it was all new to me, it was through another philanthropic friend of mine who's very wealthy, and he's German and lives in Canada and came to Australia, and we met up and he introduced me to the concept, and that was about probably 10 or 12 years ago now. And I thought, I love that idea. It's like, boy, just a small financial loan to somebody could just change their life forever. That got me thinking, like, how could I contribute to this? And as an app developer with experience of developing apps for 20 years, I realized that how cool would it be if you could make a mobile app that allowed somebody to take their phone out and connect directly to somebody to give them this loan? Because often I get stopped in the street by people, with worthy causes that I'd love to contribute to. And I'm thinking, I wonder how much of my money will actually get through. And, fundraisers do take a cut. So my idea was like, well, if we could develop a microfinance app from your phone using crypto, right, that we could actually pay the supplier. Let's say, for example, somebody wants to buy a sewing machine so they can start producing garments and sell them in a local market. Now, with that $150, they could buy some materials, and they could certainly buy a sewing machine. So the way the microfinance works is you're not actually paying money to the person, because let's face it, they could, go and spend it on something else. You're paying it to the person who's supplying it to them. Now, blockchain technologies are absolutely amazing. The way it works, there's no middleman. So there'll be no middleman taking a cut. So if you were to give $150 to somebody, it goes directly to the person supplying the goods. They receive the goods and they go, have the opportunity to change their lives. So part of what I want to do personally, and where I'll be dedicating, a large portion of the money that we raise through the BowerBird Collective, will be to be helping people in underprivileged nations through a foundation that I'm starting called Two Fish. Now, you might think, Two Fish? What's that about? There's an old saying, and it goes like this: give a man a fish, feed him for a day. Teach a man how to fish, and you feed him for life. So I've decided that it would be called the Two Fish Foundation, and it would be the Two Fish app that you use. Drag it out of your pocket, flip it open, find somebody who needs a hand up and not a hand out, and see their lives change and have a direct relationship with that person. So that's me personally. That's why I'm doing this whole thing. And it's separate from the BowerBird Collective, granted at that, but that's the thing that drives me. I'm not, I got plenty of money. I'm a rich man. I live in a house with running water, sanitation, garbage collection, roof over my head, and a bed to lie on. Like, regardless of what I could say is in my bank account or isn't, that makes me a rich man. So I'm good.
Yeah.
That's
First of all,
driving me in this.
First of all, I totally agree with that sentiment. I think if you're watching this, we got to pause. Like, hey, you know what? If you're watching this on your smartphone, tablet, device, and you're into crypto and investing, and you got a roof and water and protection and family and love and friends in your life, you're rich. You are very rich, and so we should be just very, very grateful. But second of all, I want to say my deepest condolences to your uncle, to you and your family for your uncle.
Thank you.
And third, I want to recap exactly the why, and I want to really pinpoint the why here. And you're not motivated by money or Lambos or anything, but you were. I guess there's an instance at your father's or your uncle's, eulogy or funeral, where you like, hey, what am I really working towards? And it's something I ask myself personally every day is like, why am I working? What is going on here? And it's something that it's something that we're like, hey, what am I doing to move the needle to really impact people's lives? And you're taking this idea of helping people help themselves, or rather like giving out small loans in the term of this microfinance situation, where these people who don't have, like, they have the ingenuity in their brain and they have the drive and the desire, but they just might not have that first step, that like micro loan or whatever. So you want to develop an app to help bring that to people, and the way to fund that is through the BowerBird Collective. And so that through the proceeds, or at least some of the proceeds from the BowerBird Collective, you'll be funding an app that gives out small business loans. This whole thing is called microfinance, and it's to help impact as many people as you can. Like, hey, if you've got this drive and will and idea, here's your first step. Here's your opportunity to do that. Is that about right? Did I sum it up pretty good?
Yeah, that's a really good summary of that, Aaron. Yeah, that's right to the point. I'd probably call that, let's call it the, if there's any levels in this, that's kind of like a higher level, an upper level.
The 50,
getting back to the
foot in the air level, the bird's eye in the sky.
Yeah, that's right. The bird's eye view, the 40,000 foot view. Yeah. Back down at the street level, like the BowerBird Collective itself, like what's that all about and how does it work? What's the main utility? We get asked a lot. Is there utility here other than just owning a nice piece of artwork that might go up in value or might not? We're all about finding the next Beeple. Mm-hmm. So we're an artist collective and a collective group and a community group, a private community group of elite NFT art collectors. And we've got people inside our community already that are multiple ape and punk owners. So people are understanding that there's value here. They've come in, they love the concept, right? We're out to find the next people. So we're going to be connecting to artists like myself and even young artists that are just starting out, and drawing them into our community through what we call the artist spotlights. So we'll be carefully screening those that we reach out to make sure that we're not just sort of throwing anybody in front of our community. We're looking for people that have something that is, a cut above the rest, something that stands out, something that's not run of the mill, copycat. It's like, when we find artists that have that passion that's driving them, forward in their space, we'll be finding people that potentially, in a year's time, you might wake up and say, hey, you know what? I got that piece of art, that NFT, through the art drops in the BowerBird Collective, and it came free because that was how the whole tokenomics works. I have a male bowerbird, a female bowerbird, and a bowerbird egg that entitles me to an art drop. And these art drops have been coming my way, and I just found out this morning that the one that really stood out to me, and I remembered at the time, guess what that's worth? It's worth 44 ETH. That's the floor price now. It's like, that's not out of the realms of possibility. I've actually seen this happen with some young artists that are selling their works for well under an ETH, and then suddenly, with the right connection, with the right collector, pointing them towards somebody who's interested in their art, that the floor price has gone from under an ETH to over 40 ETH. And I won't say who that was or the situation, but it's the type of people that are inside our space and that we're going to attract into our space. So we have a real world utility where we're out to find the next Beeple.
Gotcha.
And that's why people are so interested in what we're doing.
Awesome. Yeah. And people, of course, number one NFT artist in the space, at least highest earning NFT artist in the space by far, at least that I know of, at least.
That's right. Yeah.
Awesome. So help me to understand this, guys. If you're watching this far, if something you're interested in, check out all the links down in the description about the BowerBird Collective. Make sure you do your own research. I got one last question for you, Greg. What's the call to action here? What do you want us to do? As far as what do we, from this here? Do we join your Discord? Is there what's your next big thing that you want us to know and do for you?
Yeah, well, the primary thing we'd love to do is to meet you, to join us through our Discord, because right now we're in the middle of our pre-sale. We have a Mint Passport that is available through our Discord exclusively, and it actually gives you a 50% discount on our public mint of our Genesis Bowerbirds. That's pegged for the 8th of December. And so we're only like 5 days away from that now. Yeah. And the price of the Genesis Bowerbirds is set at 0.15 ETH. Now, granted, I get some people saying, hey, wait a minute, that's a lot of money for an NFT. Well, my last sale of my Bowerbird honoraries sold for 0.5 of an ETH. So, you can do your own sums on that one. So the community had decided that was a fair price for the Genesis Bowerbirds. They actually come with 10 times the amount of token allocations than the standard OG Bowerbirds, which will go on sale after the Genesis Bowerbirds. There's only 1,000 of those, so they're very rare, much sought after. And through the Mint Pass sale right now, we're almost approaching the 50% mark of 500 being sold out. So if you have one of those Mint Passes, you're actually going to be minting a Genesis for free. There'll be no cost. All you do is turn up, you'll have your wallet address connected, and you'll mint, without any cost. Of course, there'll be a gas fee, and done at your leisure over a 24-hour period, you'll be able to get away with a good gas fee. And that was the reason why we created the Mint Pass. But right now, we really want people to come and join our Discord, find out how to get their hands on a Mint Pass, because, as I said, they're on sale right now, and we need more people to see this project, and that's why we've reached out to you, Aaron. So super important. Everyone realizes that there's dates involved here. And if you're watching this, after the 8th of December, hopefully you will have been someone who, been told some other way that you've got to get some eyeballs on this project to see if it's something that you're interested in. But right now, we'd love people to go and join our Discord. As Aaron said, below, there will be the links to our Twitter, and from there to our Discord as well. Our website, you can also check out my own profile. I have my own website, my own Twitter profile, as well as my passion project, which is the twofish.org. There's an explanation on there. It's early days for that, so but the information's there, explains the concept. So, the call to action today is, if, in any way, and look, thank you so much for listening this long. This is a long time to be listening to or watching somebody talk about an NFT project. But if you've made it this far, congratulations and thank you very much. I'm humbled by your presence to this point in the video, but really, come and check us out. We've got a thriving Discord community. Everybody down there is absolutely so pumped. Wow, I've never seen, a Discord like this. This is a unique project and I love being here. I'm canceling all my other servers. I'm getting out. That's the sort of reaction that we've got. So thank you, everyone. And thank you, Aaron. It's been great to share this time with you and the BowerBird Collective. And hopefully we'll be seeing you inside our Discord soon.
Yeah, guys, if you're watching this far, thanks so much for watching. Greg, thanks for being in the hot seat today. I'm sure there's more questions to be asked. Guys, if you are any at all interested, check out the artwork. It's fantastic. Look at that. I mean, like the BowerBird, the whole narrative behind everything. Check out Neo, check out the stories and stuff like that. Check out their links in the Discord. Join the community, see if it's something for you. Guys, I'm not your financial advisor. I'm just your homie out here, your local cowboy, just pointing you to some different projects that you may be interested in. Anyways, getting the good projects with the lizard brains, gorilla arms, diamond hands. We're going to the moon, guys. We'll see you guys in there later.